So glad to have you here on 95.7 FM. And I know that this morning, most of you are dealing with kids who are not going to school again. Now, I don't know about you, but it feels like my kids have not really been in school since before Christmas. They have an absurd 2.5 to 3 week Christmas break that when I was a kid, which, 25 years ago now in the 90s, was like 10 days. Now it's 2.5 weeks. Then we had sick kids in late January. There were days off in early January with the snow and the ice and the blizzard. And now we've been sitting here for the last week, basically, where school was canceled last Wednesday because of snow. Many people on the Kansas side had days off Thursday, Friday, parent-teacher conferences, things of that nature. Monday was President's Day. Yesterday was snow. And now we've got record cold temps today and tomorrow and possibly Friday. But can we stop with the idea on the Missouri side of the state line that people are actually learning anything when they do remote learning that's happening on the Missouri side? That is something that I continue to see pop up, and it's only on the Missouri side where they can do this. Now, some of the Missouri side schools, most are closed. North, Kansas City, Belton, Blue Springs, Park Hill, Kearney, Platte County, Odessa closed. But virtual learning today for Liberty, Raytown, Center, and Hickman Mills school districts, based on this story from Fox 4. And they call it AMI. That's the name. That's what they call this alternative method of instruction. I would rather call it ABI, anything but instruction. No one's learning anything today, let's be honest. Now, you might say, well, we're going to check in on the kids on Zoom. I remember a time that wasn't all that long ago, 4.5 years, 5 years at this point, where there was a thought that kids could sit on a laptop in their bedrooms and actually be taught stuff. That's not true. You know it and I know it. What this is a way to avoid having to add days at the end of the year. You can call it an alternative method of instruction day and basically still get out the same time in May. That's a disservice to the kids. No one is benefiting from this. Or I should put it this way. The only people who should be benefiting in any kind of a school setting are the kids. And those who benefit last in this format, online virtual learning, are children. It might work out great for adults. They get to, continue on with their schedule. They get to make it so that they can be out at the right times in May. But it doesn't do anything for the kids. You're shorting the kids on actually learning something. You know and I know, especially if you have working parents, 2 working parents, how are you possibly going to monitor what these kids are doing on a laptop? And if you're a Missouri parent and you've dealt with this notion of it's a virtual learning day, kids, you know as well as I do, no one's learning anything. Just like there's been a big movement in corporate America, and you're seeing this with the federal government as well with DOGE and whatnot, to bring back workers into the office, people have realized that, work from home only works so well. You're most efficient being in an office setting, having some type of team environment, camaraderie when needed. All that stuff makes a difference. It's the same thing in school. People tried to convince you that, it's fine. You can just learn 6th grade math on a laptop. No, you can't. Being in the classroom is important. And I admit I was trying to look this up last night, and it wasn't clear to me when this became an option in Missouri, if this was something that was allowed during the pandemic that's continued after the pandemic. But as far as I can tell, Kansas doesn't allow this. It's only a Missouri thing that claims you can have this virtual learning day that basically absolves teachers, absolves administrators from having to add days at the end of the year. And it's a total joke. Anyone who tells you the kids are learning as much on a virtual learning day as they would be in a classroom is lying to you. And whether it's something that has to be handled at the statewide level or more locally, I admit I don't know the answer to that. But it is long overdue to call this thing out for what it is. And with the awful winter that we've had, we have got to put this idea out the pasture, this virtual learning day. It's a joke. Speaking of jokes, on one side of our state line, a lawsuit is happening between parents and a school district. We'll tell you why next. See, this is even worse. I've got multiple text messages here, 913-408-7957, from parents on the Missouri side admitting what a joke virtual learning days are. I know some of you have that lined up for today. It's only on the Missouri side of the state line where this is an option, but you only have a certain amount of those days as well that you can basically have. Kansas does not have virtual learning, which I prefer. It should not exist, but man, there will be no school this week. I don't see how they're going to have school this week on either side of the state line, with tomorrow being even colder than today. And today, the reason school's been canceled is because of the cold. Tomorrow morning, it's going to be minus 10. That's not a feel-like wind chill. That's what the temperature is going to be tomorrow, minus 10 in the morning. But this on the text line, and I'm just going through some of these here at 913-408-7957. Pete, I think it's ridiculous that kids can't go to school because it's too cold. Meantime, we have workers out there picking up trash. It's ridiculous. These kids are graduating illiterate. Well, as we talked to Dave Traubert about yesterday on the Kansas side of the state line, the proficiency rates for English and math continue to dwindle on the Kansas side. It's crazy how little these kids are knowing when they graduate. And, you know, it's bad for them. It's also bad for the country as well. Also, I got this here on the text line, example out in Fort Osage, that when they run out of the AMI days, basically the virtual learning days, they start cutting into spring break. So think about this. If you had spring break plans for your family, your kid is now going to miss more school if they try to add school days during spring break. Let's say you had some big family trip planned to do whatever. And you're like, hey, that's the spring break week. We're going to get out of town. We're going to go do something. Well, now they're going to make some of those days school days, potentially, because they've screwed up with all these other snow days in January and February. So your kid will miss more school as a result. Also on the text line, 913-408-7957. Kids, Pete, my kids finished their virtual learning school days in 5 minutes. Either they're Einsteins or this stuff is a joke. Something tells me it's the latter. I'm not judging your kids. Maybe they are the next Einstein. Maybe they're the next Elon Musk. That's entirely possible. But something tells me it's much more about the joke that is virtual learning. 5 minutes to complete their virtual learning. You have got to be kidding me. On the text line, Pete, school administrators should be doged. Yeah, not the teachers, but the school administrators should be doged. I am totally fine with that. Steven in KCK, what's going on, man? You're on KCMO.
Hey, man, we need a streaming Doge channel. I can't get enough Doge. Listen, I love the idea of nuking spring break. I'm watching the TV. There are guys shoveling snow over at Sporting. You know, we're going to have another Chiefs-Dolphins situation with Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi says he doesn't want to play tonight, so let the kids off. If it's too cold for Lionel Messi and Sporting tonight, and people may be losing limbs, then let's nuke spring break. What have we gotten soft in this country? What get rid of spring break. We don't need a spring break.
Here's how it was. I see you're not planning on some big trip down to Panama City there, Steve, although I'd love to see you in a Speedo sometime. That would be quite a look. Maybe I don't want to see that, actually. No comment. All right. I know the answer then.
No. Hey, I'm all – listen, these South Americans, Lionel Messi needs to man up and get out there with his team and play the match. This may be the coldest soccer game in the history of North America.
Lionel Messi is 37. He ain't playing tonight if they play this game. Sorry, it's not happening at Sporting. Thank you, Steve. Growing up, as I recall it, now, Mark, you tell me if this was the case. I'd ask John for input, but I don't know. That may be a distant memory for you, John. I don't want to go back too far on you.
Oh, no, I remember the good stuff.
Okay. There was no spring break growing up. There was a break that was President's Day week. It was like a winter break. But then there was no additional week off in March.
We had spring break here in Kansas.
You did?
Yeah.
Now, did you also have this like 5.5 day additional break that was scheduled last week into this week? Remember, because Wednesday was a half day, Thursday, Friday were off days, and then President's Day. Did you have that? Because I didn't have that.
I think we had conferences, but back then the conferences would actually be on Thursday and Friday. So they'd have the school off so that the parents, not, now we're doing it, conferences are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Then everybody has Thursday, Friday off. So I think we did have the extended break.
All right, John?
We were so much more gauche. We called it Easter break. So it
the
just
good
was
old
around
days.
there, yeah.
The good old
It
days.
just kind of fluctuated.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, this would be a late break this year. Easter's like April 20th. So, my goodness, the kids are out of school like 3 weeks later. But, hey, that's before they wokeified the whole thing, I guess.
January, February, March is usually a lot of days off around here.
Well, my goodness gracious. I mean, I don't think any kids are going to school this week. Mike and Olathe, what's going on, man?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody watched that Senate confirmation for Linda McMahon, but it was a joke. I mean, the senators always, the kids. This virtual reality is just a watered-down form of what our education system's been for 50 years. And the best one was Tommy Tuberville, because he was he's like, I've been a football coach for 40 years, and I went into every high school you can imagine, and it's only getting worse. He goes, I'm trying to recruit a guy that has a second-grade education, basically, that can't even read, past the third grade. So, the virtual reality thing, it's just on top of all the other crap that we've been driven down our throats for the education system. Mm-hmm. When you got a guy like Tommy Tuberville saying, hey, it's getting worse,
well,
it was pretty embarrassing.
Linda McMahon, as Trump said about Linda McMahon, he wants her to put herself out of a job as the Department of Education secretary. We'll see if she can do it, because basically he wants to shut the whole thing down and give that money to the states, Mike. That's what he wants to do.
Well, no matter here and there, we know the education system's broken. So how do you fix it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if she's the silver bullet, but the thing is you got to do something, because, and really, if you look at it, you almost got to think it's intentional to keep the country stupid. I mean, how can you go for 40 years and then you have a Senate confirmation where everybody's about the kids? Well, if it was for the kids, why do they keep slipping every year?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, here's a number 2 pencil, go there and take a physics class. They can't even, I mean, we're focused on DEI.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Linda McMahon's the answer, but it was just pretty entertaining watching it, because it's like, pull at everybody's heartstrings. It's like, hey,
no, you're right.
Kids, but you know what? You don't care.
Well, that's the argument they make, Mike. Thank you. That's always the argument. If you say anything about reducing or eliminating the Department of Education, it's always under the false premise of, you don't care about the kids. Do you see how poorly these kids are performing in schools right now? And we have given more money than ever to the education system, on the local levels, on the state levels, and federally. And the results blow. And you guys think throwing more money at this stuff is the answer? Based on what? The teachers are doing incredible work. Most of them are trying, at least, to do incredible work in the classroom. They're behind the 8 ball because they've got unions that hamstring them. They've got bloated bureaucracies and administrations. They've got bad school boards. And frankly, they've got parents who don't do their jobs at home. There's only so much that these teachers can do. And most of them are underpaid as well. I feel for the teachers. They're getting screwed in all this. Now, the problem is the unions are lying to them and insisting that they're getting screwed by Republican lawmakers or Trump or whoever it might be. The boogeyman is inside the building. That's the problem. The boogeyman is staring them right in the face. And they're getting lied to on that front. But the results are simply not there. And I do not put the fault at the feet largely of teachers. I think that is wildly unfair. But the system is totally broken. And Kate and I were talking about this last night when school got canceled for our girls this morning, or it happened yesterday. And it's like, we don't want the kids out cold at the bus stop. Okay, if you can't dress your child to stand at a bus stop for maybe 5 minutes, if you can't do that, then maybe this is actually a good litmus test for who needs, like, Child Protective Services to show up at their house. This could actually be a great way to figure out who is not responsible enough to be a parent. I'm not about the government, like, taking your kid away, but if you can't dress your kid for a bus stop for 5 minutes in this weather, then it says a lot about you, and I'm not sure it's the government's job or the school district's job to basically protect stupid parents from themselves. 913-408-7957.
I was out for breakfast Sunday. I couldn't believe what people were wearing, so I'm not sure some of the parents can dress themselves. Shorts.
Well,
there's shower thongs.
There's always the guy in cargo shorts when it's 10 degrees
outside. The thing that gripes me, though, you've got an infant, 18 months or younger, and you're carrying them out without a coat.
Oh, my gosh.
You're carrying the coat and the baby, but not the coat on the baby. What?
Oh, I will say it's a fine line sometimes where you got to say, hey, it might take me longer to put this coat on a baby than it is to run inside of the store. But you're right.
Touche.
You're right about that, John. All right, I'll wrap up the education story with this. And I want to get more information on this, so I'm not going to go into great detail on it right now. But Libs of TikTok uncovered this. If you're familiar with their account, you know them well. Libs of TikTok shared a story here that went viral. A parent at the Gardner-Edgerton School District right here on the Kansas side has been banned from all school grounds and activities after taking pictures of LGBTQ propaganda posted inside of the school. The parent now has filed a lawsuit against the district for violating her First Amendment rights. The school now is trying to silence a parent for exposing the woke indoctrination of these students. And I have this lawsuit in my hands. I admit it's just with the weather this week and trying to cover that, everything else going on. I wanted to go through it, get some more information on it. I received it over the weekend, and I will definitely do some more digging on this here on KCMO. But I'm looking at it right now. I mean, I have the lawsuit in front of me. And the parent who went through the school and took photos, remember, this is Gardner-Edgerton, right? So it's not like what you would think of as some traditionally woke school district. A parent went through, took pictures around the school of the LGBTQ propaganda, and now the parent is being told by the school district that basically they screwed up and they can't come back into the school. So as soon as I can get more on that, I will share it with you here on 95.7 FM and streaming, of course, on the KCMO Talk Radio app.